हाणे असल जेका असां शुरुआत कयूं था दैट इज़ फ्रॉम 1892 एंड वाई आई हैव चोज़न 1892 इज़ अ ईयर फ्रॉम वेयर द मुस्लिम politics started in India, because that was for the very first time the basic concept of democracy was introduced in India. It was for the very first time the British government had said that now we will introduce some democratization of Indian people and Indian society and Indian state. पहिरियां छा हुयो, Governor General of India had two chambers basically. One is the Executive Council. It was comprised of 5 members, and 5 were Britishers. On the other hand, it was second is Imperial Legislative Council. It was comprised of almost 34 something. It had some members. ठीक आहे, जंहिंजे अंदरि ईअं हुयो त सभु जेके आहिनि सो हुया पंहिंजो ब्रिटिशर्स, कुझु वरी सिलेक्टेड हुआ. Selected means there was no election. They were not elected. They were selected people who got elected in Imperial Legislative Council. So it is clear from the above discussion the way these people were having no say in how, because they were selected and they had no right to ask, to raise questions, to show their concerns, and even they were not in a position to deny any legislation. Britishers said that now we will introduce some sort of basic reforms in India, and they said that now democracy will be introduced, and they said that the executive council had 5 members, one additional member will be added, and that will be an Indian. Indians said, wow, this is a good thing for us. They said, you don't know. The Britishers said to Indians, you don't know how to practice democracy, how to go with democracy. This is therefore, they said that we are trying to teach you how democracy works. Therefore, we have given you only one member so that he could work in proper way and order. So that time, a person was selected, but he was an Indian, a Hindu Indian. Muslims did not get select any of their members elected. So they Muslims come to know that in that Western idea of democracy, because we are only 25 number. 25. The Muslims were 25 in number, in percentage basically. So I do believe that whenever you are reading history, you should keep certain number of things in your mind. History is all about connectivity. Unless you connect the ideas, you could not get any desired result. Second thing is about interpretation. As I used to tell a quotation regarding that, हर नज़र होती है आईना अपने ही दिल का इकबाल, जिसने जैसा देखा वैसा ही पाया. So it is all about interpretation. You do interpret history from your particular perspective. On the other hand, other people do discuss history from their perspective. We have nationalist perspective, we have Indian perspective, and we have federal perspective in history. So third thing is that unless you know the demography, the demographic outlook of India or any other region, you cannot go with politics and how does the politics work there. So Muslims were 25 in number in India. On the other hand, Britishers were 65, Hindus were 65 in number, and Sikh, Christians and Zoroastrians, they were only 10%. It meant that even though Muslims made any alliance with that of Sikhs and other people, they were only 35 in number. On the other hand, Hindus were 65. So when we talk about the Western democracy, it is all about the majority rule. So Muslims were in minority. It was very obvious, or it was very crystal clear, that Muslims are not going to make their government. So they started to think from other perspective, that now we should go for that kind of election which could give us maximum number of representation. So in 1892 the elections were held, and no other person got elected from the sides of Muslims. अच्छा, 92 में इलेक्शन थी, तो उनमें हिकिड़ो माण्हू आयो, ठीकु आहे, उहो माण्हू इंडियन हुयो. वरी छा थियो, 95 में छो जो उन वक़्तु हर 3 साल बाद इलेक्शन थींदी. Luckily a person got elected, and he was the first Muslim representative of Muslims of India who got elected, that is Nawab Salimullah of Dhaka. But that person was got elected because he had his personal influence, his area of influence or inspiration, that was very wide. So he got elected for that seat, but he could do nothing for the Muslims of India, because at that time the franchise was very limited. Franchise means the number of people who cast their vote. Britishers said that those who are educated, graduate, they could cast their vote. Those who are the members of a chamber of commerce, they could vote for the election. Those who are 21 years or 23 years, they could vote. Women were not allowed to cast their vote. याद रखिएगा, it was in 1935 when women were given an exclusive right to vote. In 1935, at that time, women were not allowed to cast
Women
their
rights were mentioned.
yes, they were not allowed to cast their vote. And those people who were the members of syndicate, they were allowed to cast their vote. And वडेरों के बेटे जो वगैरह थे या वडेरे, तो they were allowed to cast it. It means that was only 2% franchise or people who could vote for that
It was
election.
limited and selective franchise.
Exactly, limited and selective. So Nawab Salimullah tried his influence and he got elected, but he could do nothing. Acha, after every 3 years, I told you that elections were to be held. But at that time in 1898, an incident took place that ultimately shattered the overall confidence of Muslims of India, and that was the sudden demise of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. He was like a shelter. He was like an umbrella under whose guidance Muslims got quality education. They got Western education. They got a nodding acquaintance with science and other scientific educational methods. He died, and he was the only person who said Muslims not to enter in politics. From that time, they started to think from another perspective. Acha, during that time, another person came as the Governor General of India. That was Lord Curzon. He was a very sagacious person. He was a very educated person. And when he came back to India, he said that, and he thought of this, that the administration of India is quite difficult, and India is much bigger than that of Great Britain. Even the province of Bengal was more bigger than that of whole UK, and the population of only the one province of India, the Bengal, it has more population than that of whole UK. He said that now it is quite difficult to administrate that province. So, but he had that thing in mind. He said that I should divide India, not divide India, but some provinces. So he incarnated, or he just bifurcated the province of Punjab in 1901. In 1901, NWFP was created from Punjab. No one resisted. Everyone was happy, and they said, okay, this is for the purpose, solemnly for the purpose of administration. So again he came to Bengal. He said, now I should divide Bengal. So he divided it in 1905. But at that time, the a fierce wave of indignation prevailed among Hindus of India, because when Bengal was united, they comprised majority, and majority has an authority, as I told you. So they were enjoying exclusive rights. When Bengal got divided, they had a problem. Their power was shared, their interests were loopholed, and they said that now we are not in a position to earn our bread and butter, and they were in a very dominant position. So their dominance was challenged, and Muslims got their separate fronts. They worked on hospitals, they worked on medicine, they worked on everything that they could.
Even their fields.
Exactly, they promoted education, they made public parks, so they tried to make an ease for Muslims of East Bengal.
It was a welcome opportunity for the Muslims.
Exactly, and they came to know, because they were the deprived community at the time, so therefore they got a chance in order to reinvigorate the spirit of nationalism among them, and they just went for that very perspective. Hindus opposed it, and they launched a movement that is known as Swadeshi movement. Swadeshi is basically my nation, or my watan, or my land. So it was aimed at boycotting British goods and British people. They gave back all the rewards. They said that we are not going to take any rewards from British government. They resigned from their jobs. They put on fire all the jeans and Western clothes, and they said that it is a social boycott. So their pressure was increasing day by day. The streets of Kolkata and all other cities of Bengal were full of Hindu riots, and they said that now we are not going to make a part with them. In them, they started this.